Okay. Good morning, or good afternoon, Sorry. It's the way it's been. Good afternoon, March 4th, to the regular Board of Selectmen meeting, and we welcome you. We will call this meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. And we have Jim Lampos and Jude Reed here at the table, along with Martha Shoemaker. We have Suzanne McAuliffe, our clerk, in the audience, along with our visitors Cheryl Poirier and Mary Ellen Basham, who are going to be presenting to us, along with some other guests from the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. And we also have Kate Hewitt here from the Connecticut Examiner, so welcome everyone. Some information items and communications that I just wanted to get out to Jim and to Jude. First is we have been contacted by Mary Seidner at LYSB if we would be willing to be a host for a summer camp for a week here. We have done this for them in the past where we've had this would be one day, used to be 8 weeks once a week for a few hours. This would be just 1 week for a couple of hours each day. They would be using this meeting hall. We've looked at the schedule. There's really nothing on it. And she normally would have asked the Congregational Church. Unfortunately, it's the same week as the White Elephant Sale.
Oh, God.
So it's not a good time to ask them. So
it's the end of July or beginning of August? Is that when it is?
Somewhere in there. We haven't picked the exact dates, but she will let me know.
Sounds good.
Also, as you know, we did some research into the Yukon internship program. I did want you to realize that base fee of $17,000 that they asked for was not totally for salaries for the intern. The intern had to be paid a pay of $23 per hour. Yukon would have gotten the rest in administrative cost. Also, they wanted us to know the intern is actually paying for the course itself, so they're paying for it as well. But I told Ryan at Yukon that to reach out to us again next year, and we would look into it and maybe be able to put some money aside to see how that would go. Also, our Anita Lettieri started this week as our assessment technician in the assessor's office. We're glad to have her aboard. She's been working with Melinda Kronfeld, and they're getting along great. She started on Friday. I wanted to give you both this. This is the Connecticut Emergency Management Symposium. It is free. It is at Camp Net, which is over in Niantic. And if you'd like to go with Dave Roberge, please let us know. It's free and you can register online. I also wanted to fill you in a little bit on that grant resolution that I had asked for signatures on the last 2 weeks, a month ago, maybe about a month ago. Dave did do some work. This resolution, so he sent some questions to the head of the Emergency Management Program Specialist from the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, but basically talk about the reimbursement program. He gave some additional clarification, but basically by signing that resolution doesn't mean that we're actually using the money. It just knows that we would accept it if we went further with the project.
And we're interested if we sign, but we're not committed.
Right. He would appreciate it, though, if we would sign for it in the spring, because otherwise it gets backed up and all this other stuff. They have had their first meeting of the Boughton Road Emergency Operations Center. They actually have paperwork in to go out for a request for qualifications for architects or designers / builders. And once that gets going, we probably should look at this resolution again and get moving on it and see where we go.
Great.
And I think that is it. So we have next up is the approval of the minutes from the February 20th meeting. And did anyone have any corrections on those?
I did not have any corrections.
I do not.
I did not either.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented for February 20th, 2024.
I will second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of the February 20th, 2024 meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Moving on, we have some guests today, and we would like to call up Mary Ellen Basham from our Solid Waste and Recycling Committee to discuss a new program that they would like to have.
Excuse me, Martha. Did we skip public comment?
I'm sorry. We did.
Okay.
Is there anyone here for public comment? Anyone on the line for public comment?
Cool.
Okay, hearing none. Mary Ellen, you are now up. Yep.
Okay.
If you can sit closest to the mic, it's great for the recording.
Okay. So Mary Ellen Basham on behalf of the Old Line Solid Waste and Recycling Committee.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. So Jim Ward was supposed to be our presenter tonight, since he's sort of the star of the town right now. Unfortunately, he's sick, and so he's not able to make it tonight. So I am going to present to you kind of what our idea is. I think everybody should have gotten a packet.
They're right there.
I gave you, oh, there they are.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Thank
okay. So it's a lot of information. There's lots of links.
Good bedtime reading.
What's that?
Good bedtime reading.
Yeah, yeah. I sent it to Martha also electronically if you wanted to look at links about.
Okay.
I can forward that to you.
And just a spreadsheet that our committee, that Brad Garinger has been working on since for the last year about the amount of trash and cost for the town. So essentially what we'd like to do is start a pilot food scrap program.
Oh, good job.
Especially because I did not expect to present tonight. Oh, sorry. Sure. You're welcome. So we want to start this pilot program for the town to basically reduce our food scrap waste. And the company that we're looking at is called Blue Earth Compost. They're a Hartford-based corporation, and they essentially would come to the transfer station. They would set bins up there, and each week they would come and they would collect the food scraps that the people of town would bring. There is a fee for it. However, we intend to use the funds that we receive from the knit bottle to start this initiative. And so it really essentially is not going to cost the town anything. So the numbers are all in this proposal. It's pretty simple. Additionally, with the bins being in place, we also plan to basically provide 100 people with a countertop bin, a 6-gallon pail to put their compost in, and then that bin will be what they take to the transfer station to dump their compost or their food scraps.
How heavy is a 6-gallon bin when it's filled? I know if it's lettuce, it'll weigh less, but if you've got, is it manageable for everyone?
It's not, yeah, it's pretty manageable. So if you think about those 5-gallon buckets that you see at the hardware store, it's 6 gallons, so it's just a little bit bigger. I think there's a picture of it.
I see that.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so, if it was done weekly, I don't know how much food scraps people would have, so it's hard to tell, but...
I have a composter in my yard that I use, so I find because you do a lot of fresh produce or leftover stale food and put it in there, it accumulates pretty quickly and it's heavy, so it would be a big help for our tipping fees.
Yeah, it definitely gets heavy for sure.
Do they compensate us in any way for?
They don't, unfortunately, but they do take, the difference between this program and some of the local, like, composting programs that I think Jim Ward has one for the neighborhood, and,
Right.
Bailey?
Up at the farm, yeah, yep.
So the difference is that this company takes everything. They take
Really?
meat, they take dairy, they take bones.
They take meat?
Yes, they
Wow.
take your, like, last night, actually, I was scraping our plates, and I'm like, this
Yes.
can all go into the food waste, like, even the napkins can go in there.
Of course, good paper product.
Yeah, paper products that are used to prepare food can go in there.
So if you have produce with a label on it, all that can go. Pits, like peach pits, avocado pits.
Because
Impressive.
It goes to an anaerobic digester
Yep.
in Southington, so it all just breaks down.
Awesome.
And then, so going back to your question, do we benefit from it? We really don't, but the food
In a way you do.
In a way we do, because we're essentially going to be paying less, maybe
Yeah.
hopefully less for trash.
Yeah, trash is expensive.
And then
Very.
it goes to compost, it gets used as energy, so I mean, kind of benefits us, I guess.
So what do they do with it after it goes into the aerobic?
So all of the anaerobic digestion waste, it turns into gas that they use. I don't exactly know where they send it to, but I do know that, like, the sludge and all of
the spoil.
Yeah, it's turned into energy. I don't exactly know who they sell it to or what they do with it, but if you were to look at their website, I did have a link.
Check it out.
You can go check out their website. They have a lot of information. I mean, you can get...
It makes methane? Okay.
In terms of, I don't want to derail your presentation too. So in terms of pricing, so basically the pilot program is 100 people are going to get these 6-gallon jugs, and they bring it to the transfer station. That's the same place they're going to be collected, is at the transfer station.
Yes, I think it's probably the most logical place for it. I haven't really explored any other avenues. I don't even know if you guys would want it at the transfer station, but it seems like the most logical.
Seems like
right.
No-brainer to put it there. So then, if I'm reading this correctly, at the transfer station, they will be assembled into a 64-gallon rolling cart that can be collected by this private enterprise, and they will charge us $12 for that.
Right,
Okay.
and they'll replace it with clean ones.
Do you have a cost estimate for what you think the 100 people would run us per week? I see we have $15,000 in the NIP fund, and I see the NIP fund is allowable for this. So do you know what we may, what kind of costs we may incur on a weekly basis based on 10 people, 100 people in a 6-gallon container?
I don't know. I think it depends on how much food waste we get from people. So I feel like that's kind of part of why we want to start the pilot program, to see how much food waste do we get, and if we need to add an additional bin each month, is that going to be the case? I just read an email from Allison from Essex, who is in charge of the recycling committee there, and I literally just looked at the numbers, and I actually think that they have eight bins right now. One town collected a lot of food scraps this last year. I actually double-checked the number because I couldn't believe it. It was Deep River, 112,000 pounds. And Blue Earth gave me that number, and I said, because I read it again, and I said, is this really true? And he said, yeah. So to answer your question, I don't know. I think that's part of the program, is to sort of see how much we would collect and sort of gauge our numbers off the first year.
Okay.
Do some of the restaurants in perhaps some of these towns also participate, or is this just household?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's just household, because I think most of them are run under the municipality, which would be household versus businesses and things like that.
The other thing is there's a notation on the bottom. If diesel goes over $4 a gallon, it's been over $4 a gallon for the last year and a half or so. I'm curious, this is under the quote. I'm curious how that affects it, as well as, Oh, I do appreciate in their agreement that they will do a 1 year as opposed to a 3-year, which is great because then we could kind of figure out how much we do contribute in a year and we can come up with better numbers. So should we go into it, we would only have to commit for 1 year.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I have to tell you that the person that I've been talking with from Uber is a very terrific person. He's very responsive, no pressure. We got a quote, it was probably like 8 months ago. And just when we started to put all this together, and I went back to him just a couple months ago, I said, hey, what's the new quote? Like, is the prices changed? He's like, no, it's good, so just let us know.
I don't know very much about this. How many companies are out there that are looking for business? I mean, I know most of you, and I'm sure that you've done your homework on it. And you wouldn't bring someone in that's not reliable. But suddenly I'm hearing more and more, whether it was through Bailey or this or home composting. I'm completely in favor.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering how competitive it's going to get with the services they provide and how they charge.
You mean with
these commercial companies?
Oh, I'm only aware of this one.
Okay.
That actually Karen's like the compost guru.
I feel pretty strongly about that too. I started looking into this when we had the sustainability committee many years ago.
Right.
And Blue Earth was the only one then, and they only had they had a pilot study in Middletown going on at the time. And I have not run across any other companies like this. And you mentioned Bailey, but she's going to have
a different,
and it's going to be, there isn't going to be a service where they'll come around, as far as I understand. I don't believe she's planning on picking up at different locations and then bringing it. This is like an all-inclusive.
I got the impression that she will incorporate that where she will pick up and the proceeds or her collection would help fund the vehicle.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But not necessarily service a complete town, but individuals. I think it's a great idea. I would love to go see a town that has implemented this. You say Deep River?
So if you look at the first
as I said, I haven't got this, but it's worth a field trip.
If you just go down to the lower half of the first page, you'll see all the COG towns in the area that they...
This one, Jude. Right
Okay,
here.
got it. Thanks.
And
I see it as a neighboring towns. Cool.
And their numbers. I don't know, I just hear in the news...
I'd love to go see it.
Yeah, more and more every day, like food scrap.
So my next question is, have you talked to Don Ruddy at the transfer station?
I plan on bringing some donuts. And actually, I didn't, only because I think Don's a great person, and we did a lot of work on that textile bin placement. So I do enjoy speaking with him. I didn't want to ask him until we went to Don first.
Great.
So I would say I certainly think this is a valid program. If it reduces the amount of trash that we produce, I think it's an excellent thing. I know what we pay for trash, and I certainly love to reduce that price. One of the things that I would say is that, yes, I would want to talk to Don, too, and have his permission. And I'd also want to make sure that these bins that are there are somehow locked so that animals cannot get into them. Because I don't want Don to arrive at work in the morning and find out he's got to be cleaning up something.
Yeah.
I agree. And that was one of my other questions to Allison was, have you had any problems with animals in these bins? And she said, per our transfer manager, we've had no problems with them, whether it's just because of where theirs are or what. But yes, for sure, if that's a problem, we'll...
So they pick up the bins or they dump the bins into a vehicle? Do we know?
They dump, because I think that's the cleaning fee. We pay a cleaning fee, so they'll clean the bins so that they will not smell raunchy.
Wait,
which is hard to believe in the summer.
They take them, I think, and then they replace them with clean ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Curious.
So,
again, I think I will make a trip to one of the closer ones.
So what do you need from us?
So, I guess what we need from you is to get, after we talk with Dawn, see if we can put these bins there, is just the okay to get a contract going with Blue Earth, get the bins set out. I've already spoken with contractors for, not contractors, vendors for the bins, for the bags, and just get that ordering done so that when we're ready to sort of put this out to the town and say, hey, this is what we're doing, we have everything in place that we can do it. So I don't know, just...
I have questions before that happens, only because I haven't read this.
Sure.
So does the homeowner pay a deposit for the bin? Does the homeowner have to buy the bags? Is this on the town? How does this work?
So that's a good question. It's in the packet.
Right.
So what we plan to do is use the money from the NIP surcharge because we have $15,000 and we're going to get another payment in April. So we're going to have... on how it's been trending. So we plan to buy them all and give them to the first
for now.
people. Yeah, for now, for the pilot program. See how it works out. I think I did do the math with how much they cost as a bundle, and it comes in at just around $28 to $30 for just the product.
For all the components of the product?
Okay. Essex sells them for $25, like the bin and the rolls. So I think ideally, after the first year, if we wanted to sell them, we could. I feel like if we're still getting the nip bottle money, like I don't think charging people is
the nip bottle money, did that increase the first of the year, or was that already 10 cents?
I don't think the nip bottles.
Right, I think
they stayed at 5. I thought they did. They stayed at 5.
Increase it. Duh, that makes no sense. Anyway.
They are up to 10?
I thought it was 10.
No,
but the other ones.
5. The other bottles went up to 10.
Okay.
So I think the only thing that we could probably, if we did decide to sell them, is the bags, because they're compostable bags. Like to give those to people would be fair.
So how are we would you choose the 100 people?
Right.
Because you might have 4,000 that are interested, 4,000 homes that are interested.
Yeah.
Moderate.
Again,
They don't need the bucket to participate.
Oh, that's a good thing to know. Just the bag.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But, so basically, we still have to figure out how 100 people get the bins, though, the ones that do get the small bins.
And not everyone has to comply. There are people who compost their own or take it. Okay.
And
Totally voluntary.
it's not exclusive, too. Like if Bailey wanted to start up a business
Exactly.
in town collecting
Right. But Jim could still have his compost place.
non-exclusivity of this contract.
Right.
No,
So,
we're not directing this.
and if this invoice is even close to
It's nothing.
what
Right.
it might be, $272 a month,
Well, even if it's 400.
$400 a year,
Yeah.
if we have $18,000 or $20,000 in the fund by the end of the year, I mean, it's not a huge
We're
risk
doing well.
to the town.
And nip bottle money so far is not going away.
No, it hasn't.
The bottom line is to try to implement the practice as
Yes.
much as possible in the town, so the pilot, the word gets out, and
I think-
people
yep.
are interested and start to begin the practice themselves. That's
Well,
And
we
the
think,
and the more we do move to this, the less our tipping costs will be.
exactly.
And
At the beginning, if it's not at scale, we're not going to be saving money.
Right.
Maybe to break even.
Right.
At the best, but as it scales and
We
costs
can-
change, there's the potential. And I think the whole idea is to see if the community's willing to go this way and we'll momentum.
We can try to,
Nobody's going to say we're bundle the first year.
Right. Well, yeah, it's not
I think it's
so much a
program.
cost thing, but it sounds like there's not a lot of risk involved.
It could be up to 30% of the tonnage.
Yeah,
to be saved.
absolutely. Maybe we can get a little competitive and suggest we beat Deep River and things like that.
Good.
Yeah, a little incentive.
So here's...
Set up competition with other towns. How much more can we?
I don't know what Jim and Jude are thinking, but my feeling would be that you have this quote and it's good till the 24th of March. What I would like to do is have you go and talk to Don and have us work out things. And if he's good with it and we've had the questions answered about animals and where you
Absolutely.
can put it, then we could make a motion on our meeting on the 20th, and then you could move ahead and
Great.
nothing would slow you down.
That would be great.
If that's okay with you.
Great, thank you. The other thing I just wanted to address about the 100 people is that we may not even get 100 people. I think what we're trying to do collectively is provide this to people if they want to do it, and then we're not actually going to be able to track those people of like how much weight that they produce, so we can't really track that number. But in addition to anybody else who wants to use the service. So we're going to be able, over the year, just to get that number and be able to sort of subtract that number from the difference of the 2024 and the 2023 trash totals.
Yep.
So that in combination with what we would like to do with those 100 people is survey them on how they liked the service, what we could do better, and so that will be our sort of like...
Perfect.
Mark,
Yeah.
meeting's on the 18th, I think, not the 20th.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just thought maybe I had missed a date and I didn't want to.
You're right, it's the 18th.
Thank you.
You have plenty of time to get it in
I
on
think
the
it's great.
24th.
Okay.
So I'm going to put you on the agenda for the
Yes.
18th.
Hopefully Jim will be here.
You did a great job.
You did great.
I'd just like to have a chance to read it through at least once.
Yep. And maybe we'll take a field trip to one of the others to see how they do it. So just get answers from Don. Ed may want to weigh in. He likes to. But let's get the answers. We'll work out things. And if you wanted to do a day here where you could hand things out, we'd certainly be
awesome.
open to have you be
Or at the waste
more
transfer
than welcome here at Town Hall to hand things out.
Okay, that would be great.
Great.
All right. Any
Okay? Thank you
Thank
so
you very
very
much.
much.
Okay. Coming in. It's chock full of information.
All right, we'll be...
I think you're going to be surprised. People
I hope.
want to do that,
Yeah.
especially women. They seem to be more conscious.
Because they're scraping the plate.
I did it last night,
carrying
and I
up
thought if I
crowd.
had this, I'd be set to go.
All right, thank you.
Cheryl Poirier is up next with some information about the semi-quincentennial, or we can call it America's 255th.
I have one. Thank you.
Yes,
It's the
I
time
scribbled all
of
over
the
it.
evening.
And
Thank you, Cheryl.
Semi-quincentennial.
my apologies to Cheryl because I spelled her name wrong on the agenda, and I have to say that my people who read through the agenda also did not pick it up, but I feel really bad because I do know how to spell her name.
She's been volunteering here for a long time.
She has.
She goes way back.
I am here on behalf of the Economic Development Commission, and we are here because of that tongue twister, semi-quincentennial, which is America's 250th anniversary coming up July 4th, 2026. And I'm representing the EDC in making a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to
Bless you.
appoint an old line America 250 committee. And the committee would have as a purpose to engage, encourage, and coordinate old line residents and organizations celebrating the anniversary and the appointees be a diverse set of residents and would also represent the various cultural organizations that are already starting to think about what they want to do for the semi-quincentennial. Okay. Leading up to the bicentennial in '76, the town had an old line bicentennial commission. It was already underway at this point in March of '74 because we know it was recognized as a bicentennial community on the federal level. For this anniversary, the national effort started 10 years before the anniversary is coming up in 2016, and in Connecticut, it started in 2022. On the national level, they are working to engage Americans across the country to design the largest and most inclusive anniversary in our nation's history, which is a very large order. They want to ignite imaginations, elevate each of our own stories. There's a big inclusiveness element to all of this, and inspire service in our communities. So you have the national level, then you have the state level. As I said, Lamont established the statewide commission in 2022. It is chaired by former State Secretary Denise Merrill and is administered by CT Humanities, which is a kind of a nonprofit entity in the state. And you can see on that list the variety of organizations that are represented on that commission. And they are planning and coordinating activities on the state level. They want to enhance tourism, which is an EDC, important thing to the EDC. Economic development, historic education and preservation, and outdoor recreation. They also are promoting archives and documentation related to the semi-quincentennial period. So, should Old Lyme be involved? And of course, that's a resounding yes, because we obviously have a lot to say and celebrate, and there is wonderful archival information about what was going on in Old Lyme, or the Lyme, as it was called back then, during this time period. So what are some of the things the Bicentennial Commission did between 74 and 1976? They were coordinating efforts, which is something we're thinking about for this new committee we're asking you to appoint, including a lot of the work of the Lyme Historical Society. They had 3 themes that year: heritage, horizons, and festivities. They created a booklet for Old Lyme elementary school students that, in fact, the New York State Department of Education bought 2,000 copies of. They produced a historic play, Lyme and the Revolution. EDC member John Stratt was in that play back 50 years ago and performed it on Lyme Street, and it was also broadcast on local radio. There were artists and craft shows, town band concerts, and the Lyme Historical Society sponsored a quilting contest. And also, when you're at the Florence Griswold Museum, you can see this enormous oak tree, which came from an acorn of the original charter oak, and it was one of several planted around the state in '76. We got a lot of coverage that year, or those 2 years. That quilting contest, and many of the exhibitions at the museum, when they're showing part of their permanent collection. And right outside Ms. Thompson's office is a painting that was, I believe, commissioned that year by the Bicentennial Commission. So what are we looking for in this committee? Well, it could educate Old Lyme organizations and residents about what's going on across the country and in the state. It could coordinate the programs among the various organizations, like the Old Lyme Historical Society or the museum, scouts, that sort of thing. And also, importantly, collaborating and working in unison with other local towns, particularly Saybrook, and then the Lyme, along with Old Lyme, East Lyme, and Salem. And we want to make sure, from an EDC point of view, that our programming is recognized in the state marketing, because it's important to visitation. Things like walking tours of our historic district, things like that would be a wonderful addition. The other thing we would want this committee to find ways to do is to include all Old Lyme residents in seeing how their own personal history is part of American history. And that's part of this whole inclusiveness. That's the big theme this year. Connecticut has 4 elements to that theme: telling inclusive stories, power of place. We have a very strong power of place in Old Lyme in our unique history. Doing what they're calling doing history, which is inviting the public to fully engage with history, and for the common good, encouraging civic engagement, and ensuring that people are continuing to be involved in the experiment of America. Who would we suggest would be potential appointees? Well, we would say representatives from key cultural organizations in town. The library is quite interested in this. The Old Lyme Historical Society is. Florence Griswold Museum. The Witness Stone Project. Someone from the Lyme Old Lyme schools, perhaps the curriculum development or the civic program. Middle school teachers. There are several boards or commissions that might make sense, including Economic Development, the Historic District Commission, the Soundview Commission has their 4th of July parade. That could be quite a year for that. Parks and Rec, the town historian, and then we would want to include people of all ages with an interest in history and culture, or be finding a way to be involved with town government for the first time. This would be a great way to get involved. And you can see all those other potentials on the bottom of the slide. You know, Midsummer Festival, there are millions of things that could be encompassed in this whole thematic celebration. Okay, you all are always interested in budget. I have those first 3 bullets here just to I need it spelled out for myself, what falls when. So clearly, town budget is already under consideration for 24-25. In November of later this year, the budget is considered for 25 up to June 30th, 2026. So that's almost at that date, but there would be programs throughout the year, I assume. And then requests by committees and commissions November 25th would cover that month of July 2026. I don't see this being something where they're asking for lots of money or needing lots of money, maybe a Hallbro banner, t-shirt, whatever, but grants could be requested and the individual organizations could also be going for their own grants and funding the way they typically would. So in closing, the DEC is recommending the Board of Selectmen form an Old Line American 250 committee. Purpose is to engage, encourage, and coordinate Old Line residents and organizations in their celebration of the 250th anniversary. Appointees should represent cultural organizations, boards and commissions, historians, artists, and residents with a diversity of strengths and experiences. And we have 2 years and 4 months to get there.
Okay.
Anyone in the audience is interested, you can go on america250.org or ct250.org. Thank you.
I have one question, Cheryl.
Sure.
And thank you for the presentation. Do we know in town if there were ever any time capsules put aside at previous events that were historical, whether it was 1976 or 1925 or anything like that?
Good question.
I don't know, and I'll tell you, John Stratton, he keeps his paper archived, so I will put that question to him.
Please.
You haven't heard of any, Jim?
My next person to ask would be someone like you from the Historical Society.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, but I haven't looked for that in particular. I have a lot of resources at home.
I think the schools in the past building have, and
Sure.
I wonder if in previous events and celebrations, because that would be something to rally around as well.
I would not be surprised if the schools had done something in 1976.
Me too.
Perhaps.
I was not here.
But we can certainly reach out to the various.
Scott Brown might know.
Yeah, that's right. He would have been here.
Around when in '83. Okay, great.
All right, well,
Thank you.
So, action on this, and then you would like us to be in charge of appointees? Would you like to sit with me and write a letter to some of these organizations to say we're looking for appointees from your organizations, type of thing like that, and then also reach out to the individual boards and such?
That would be great. I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
I think that's great.
Yeah. So I need a motion to appoint this committee, and Cheryl, I would assume you would like just maybe a little startup money in case of printing or anything like that, that perhaps we can not put into the budget, just to give you a bit of a head start for the next year. And then, of course, if you needed an appropriation for anything larger, you could always come back. So, could we have a motion to begin, we want to call it Old Lyme's 250th?
Or is it Old Lyme Semi-Quincentennial Committee? I'm happy to make the motion to form a committee for that event for July 4, 2026. and any other dates that would be associated with that celebration.
I'd be happy to second.
Okay, Jude, Jim, thank you both. Any further discussion?
This is actually a really good place to bring this in, because I'm glad Cheryl's here, because EDC would probably figure into this. I just had a meeting this morning at Lyme Library about our local history and making it more accessible to people. And one figure that's not very well known that we're working on is David Ruggles, who was America's first black publisher, who was the first person to attempt to desegregate public transportation.
Wow.
Personally led 600 slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad. Frederick Douglass writes about him as a great American hero from Lyme, born in Lyme, one of ours. So we sort of want to make him better known, and we're looking at 2025 Juneteenth celebrations as celebrating a local hero and beginning the process this year of who is David Ruggles and trying to get his name out there a little bit this year, and next year to bring in a regional sort of thing. And I think it's really a huge part of telling our story, because he was a tremendous writer and activist, and really a true blue American when you read his writing, how much he believed in the country and in democracy. So I think he would be terrific. We also have Lafayette's 200th anniversary of Lafayette's visit, 1824, when he came to the McCurdy House. That was his second visit to a Lyme. It'd be good to have some sort of maybe proclamation from the board in August, recognizing that and remembering Lafayette.
Sounds like you're volunteering. No, you're a wealth of information. Yeah.
So it's just a couple of things we can knock out now, I thought. And we're missing it because it's in 2 weeks, the 250th anniversary of Lyme's Tea Party.
Yes.
Which, yeah, so, we're too late for a proclamation, but I'd like to thank our predecessors for...
2 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
How fitting.
1874. And the Connecticut Current praised Lyme and the Sons of Liberty in Lyme, some of whom were on our board, our predecessors, for setting the example for the state and resistance to the British, and is really the true beginning of the American Revolution. So if we can coordinate that sort of thing over the next couple of years with EDC, with tourism, events that would bring people in, tell that story, terrific.
Sure, and we have someone on our board, Wendy Russell, who is the town's representative to the Eastern Regional Tourism District. So tourism is broken up into different districts in the state, and she makes sure anything that we want local
Awesome.
people who are staying in hotels in Mystic or whatever, they get a newsletter from this district with anything that we all provide on what is there to do in Old Lyme this quarter. So that's the kind of thing. If there are public celebrations in addition to just recognitions, we can certainly get it up the chain to office tourism.
Great, thank you.
And personally, I would just love to see us find a way for our students, whether it may be from our schools or even from the Lyme Academy, to participate, whether perhaps they design the T-shirt or whatever. But I think it would be a great way to engage them and let them know that they are a part of this celebration as well. So, do we have a motion? Did you make
I did make a motion. Jim seconded.
Good. So, if there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of forming the Old Lyme Semi-Quincentennial Committee for 2026, we affirm by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No abstentions? Motion passes. Cheryl, if you'll make a meeting with me, we'll get going on that letter.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific. All right. Next up is old business. The review of the tax refund ordinance. We're going to table to the 18th because the lawyers had one question on paragraph 2. So we are going to let them work it out, and we will have that for you as well. Then the equal opportunity statement has been approved by legal. This is something that we need for the police accreditation. Christy Kelly and Jack Collins and his staff have all seen this. They've added some things for ADA requirements, etc., and put in the correct terminology. So if you've seen this before, except there's a few changes.
Right.
And
Are they significant? I don't recognize the changes because I'm not looking at my previous copy.
it's basically some more updated verbiage that is correct wording, more socially accepted.
Got it.
And there's a few little things where she just suggested instead of one part of taking a part of a sentence out and whatever. It's not major. But please feel free to read through it.
The only, I feel this is sort of blanket, can perform the essential functions of the job with or without reasonable accommodation. I mean,
Second paragraph, is this second?
yeah, it's way down near the end.
Yep.
I'm not sure what that implies. I mean, if you have a disability, but what's a reasonable or I mean, are we
Reasonable.
saying that we will provide accommodations?
We
will.
would.
Okay.
I mean, desks with wheelchair accessibility.
I would hope so, yeah. That is not unreasonable.
No, I don't think it's unreasonable at all.
No, I don't either, but it says we will provide anything that is not unreasonable. Do we have to define what unreasonable is?
They
I
do
don't
not
mean
seem
to be
to
picky,
think
but
that,
I'm not saying throw the whole thing out because that's a question. It seemed like an odd.
so if I read that sentence,
Phrase,
consistent
yeah.
with policy of non-discrimination, town will reasonably accommodate a qualified individual with a disability as defined under law, provided the town is aware of such disability, that such individual requires accommodation to perform the essential functions of their job, and any such accommodation is not unreasonable. So let's just say we didn't have an elevator and maybe that person needed an elevator. That would probably be an unreasonable because it would be a very huge expense to us to put an elevator in. Luckily we have one. But that's what I would consider unreasonable, that it's...
Lady, just...
But even then, you make the accommodations because you can put them on the ground floor, and that's why we have a handicapped accessibility on our lower level.
With ramps, correct?
Right. Just, and offices down there as well. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept that so that we can get that to we have a meeting with police accreditation, I think it's later this week.
I'll make a motion to accept the Equal Employment Opportunity Statement as written.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not hearing any, let's call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to have any further discussion on the affordable housing open space issue on the McCulloch property. I will say, Jude, that while you were away, we did bring this to the attention of the Board
only
of
question I
Finance
have.
to let them know.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some discussion back and forth, like, okay. Greg Fatoma did say at that meeting that he is agreeable to transfer the packages to affordable housing.
To transfer it, okay.
Which we have to go through because
Right.
they have to divide them up. With the understanding that we as the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance understand that they would, if they have a deal in the future, something they'd like to buy, and they need additional funding, that we would take that into consideration, that this money, and he still had to bring it before open space, and Michael still had to bring this in front of, so that's kind of where we
So
stand.
that's what the conversation was about?
Right.
Okay, but nothing was agreed on by Board of Finance or anyone? We can't anyway because it's an amount over.
And I let them know that this is, I said, the more people that are involved, the better solution we're going to have to the problem. It's something we didn't see, and how do we move forward with this?
Okay, so it's out there.
It's out there. Hopefully by the 18th, we'll have a recommended solution, and we can move forward at that time. Jim, anything on that?
No.
Okay. New business, appointments to boards and commissions. I have for you some packets. Jude.
Thank you.
And they're double-sided on the other side.
Okay.
So were four applicants for the Halls Road improvement. Jude, you asked this morning how many. It is a Board of Selectmen committee. Therefore, it can have as many as we would like on it. So, number is not a factor at this point in time. You do see a recommendation here from Edie after interviewing all four candidates. And we can proceed anyway. And I know that there were some issues with this appointment. I feel terribly that information was put out there that should not have been put out there. I am extremely sorry about that because that is not the way I wish to run this administration. And I will make sure and endeavor that that never happens again under my term. So, it's the best I can do at this point in time. So, we have four people, one of whom does not live in Old Lyme, and then we have three other candidates. And I am looking for a recommendation from either of you as to how you would like to proceed.
If we are making nominations, is that what we're...
We can.
I'd like to make a nomination of Dave Kelsey and Mr. William Bolland. And when we can talk about it, you'll let me know because I have thoughts on that.
Okay. So would you like to make that?
I'd like to make that motion.
Okay.
That they be appointed to the two open seats to the Halls Road Improvement Committee.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Just a procedural question. Did you say there's any number of open seats, or is
We can
make as many as we want.
We can make as many as we want.
So we have three candidates. We can appoint all three.
We can?
So you could ask.
Okay. So I will second that motion.
Okay.
Would you like?
J. David Kelsey, and the second one is William Folland. Kelsey, K-E-L-S-E-Y.
So we can have discussion on this now? Did you want to say, were you thinking of something? You asked the question, led me to believe.
Well, I think Christine is also another qualified candidate we can throw in there.
And this is discussion right now?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know Christine. I have tried to speak to her or introduce myself, and no response. I don't know if it's because there is a negativity about the party I belong to. But my comment on this nomination of the first two, I'm in favor of because they seem to play by the rules of appointment. I feel that Ms. Katalka is probably a very good candidate. I don't like the perception that she Her appointment was ex post facto, a done deal. We haven't even had our meeting. And I have a problem with that. I think it's a housekeeping issue. And the perception is the deal was made, she would be on this committee without it ever coming to us as a group. And that conversation has taken place in town, and people have spoken to me about it. And if we choose to put her on that committee, it should not be at the expense of someone else that's done it the way it should be done. Those are my thoughts, and I'm not happy with that at all.
I think Martha addressed that. It didn't come from the selectmen, obviously.
No, it did. Well, I hope not.
From another committee chair, and it was, just something that was done not the way we'd like to see it done.
Correct.
Right.
So
Any of us.
I don't think that should preclude Christina from being appointed to the board. To the
Committee.
To the committee. Right. So if we can appoint everybody.
I think that's a wonderful compromise.
I know Dave Kelsey was
right.
on the committee, and no one's more qualified. I know, Bill Folland has always taken an interest in town politics, and if he's volunteering his time, that's going to be valuable.
I agree.
And Christina is also will be an excellent representative. So
I am willing to modify my motion to include that I nominate J. David Kelsey, William Folland, and Christina Gachowka to be appointed to the Halls Road Improvement Committee.
I will second.
I'm going to just give you this. That'll make it so much easier for you. And format.
I'm happy with the solution that was offered.
And I applaud all of us for coming with a good solution to a very difficult situation.
And I'd like to see that happen immediately. They're sworn in, hopefully before the next Halls Road Improvement Committee meeting.
Which I think is next
Which
week.
I think is around the 14th, around the 15th.
That's not a problem. They have to be sworn in within 10 days of their appointment. They have
Great.
to. So, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any abstentions? Anyone's nay? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you all.
And
All right.
thank them for volunteering.
Definitely. Still a lot of work to be done on that committee. Then brings me to the possible sale. I had a gentleman come to see me a few months ago, right after I got into office, and asked me if I would be, his name is Kevin Rowe. He is a resident. I'm giving this both to you, and I'll explain to you what they are.
Great. Thank you.
This is, he is a resident of East Lyme. His property backs up to the property at 159 4 Mile River Road. The darker shaded one, you will see, the outlined version is his property, the black here.
Yep.
And that mushroom, it sort of forms almost a mushroom cap
Exactly.
on his property. So, with that being said, Melinda Cronfield called East Lyme. We're trying to cover our bases.
Oh, good. Thank you.
The tax assessor's office there said that they certainly, didn't see any problems. She was not able to talk to Bill Mulholland.
Right, Mulholland. Yep.
But she did talk to the tax assessor, and they said they don't foresee any problems. We talked a little bit about what possible price would be, which is on the assessment card, which you could see. But we have to go into negotiations. And if you look at the assessment card, you can see on the top, current assessment under appraised up at the top here, Jude.
Okay,
That number?
double-sided. Okay, great. Yep,
Okay.
got it.
So, that could be, this is not buildable land. It is a little over 2 acres. It's a sliver on 4 Mile River Road. Our offices in land use and tax assessors, tax collectors, etc., didn't see a problem. It would provide us with some additional tax revenue. Land right now that's owned by the town. The reason that this individual would like to have it is because his house sits on a cliff in East Lyme, and his backyard is basically a downward slope to 159 River Road. So if a tree falls, he'll be able to go down. He goes down into the woods and he cuts it up, and he might use the wood. But this would allow him to access. He would probably ask for some type of a stone driveway or something off 4 Mile that he would be able to drive in and pick up the wood and bring it back to his house in Old Lyme.
How did the town end up with it? I see Kavanewski's owned it up until 2004.
I didn't get the history, but I certainly can.
Yeah, and it says it was a sale to the town. So I'm curious why we would buy it, and
maybe they were getting rid of it.
I don't know.
Well, I have
It's an odd piece. Jim, maybe you know.
printed out from GIS
Yep,
the sliver of land, which you'll see outlined in blue,
yep.
and it's directly across the street from the right-of-way to the 3 Mile Reserve. So what you see in orange and brown is land owned by the town of Old Lyme along the 3 Mile River.
I see that.
And that's it's a sliver of land, but it provides the opportunity for parking across from the open space.
So if there's a right-of-way, then I'm assuming that the people drive up that right-of-way or walk up that right-of-way?
Well, I think all of the open
Well, it gives them access.
I don't think we have parking up in there. I may be wrong on that, but I didn't bring my phone with me to check the space.
Okay, I'm happy to see this part of the information.
So that is something to take into consideration as well.
And I'm also a little concerned now, his property is in East Lyme.
Yes.
That was my...
Which, nothing pejorative against East Lyme, great town. Very different attitude towards development than we do.
Much.
He would not be able to build on it.
No, but there could be all kinds of activity on that property that would be using 4 Mile River Road as access. There could be a lot of heavy machinery. I mean, we don't really know what the plans for that are.
My question was similar in that, does this road frontage give him more availability to either subdividing or other use? That was my concern. And knowing as little as I do about it, other than looking at this and what you're talking about, I think it needs more review.
Would you like to have him come to a meeting so you could ask him his question?
I think we need to do a little bit more research.
I think I need more research on what is acceptable in that area as far as use. And not that I'm expecting he's going to profit from this, but it may not benefit us.
Right. It's a turn off from 4 Mile River Road where you can pull off the road, and there's not that many of them on that road, number one. Number two, it does have this opportunity for access. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know enough about it.
But I think maybe a little time to figure this out.
Yeah.
So let's all take
A field trip.
a field trip.
Jim's already done that, it sounds like.
I did too.
buy it without,
I cased it out yesterday.
but I haven't stopped there, looked at it, and, paced it off to see what goes on around it. Is his piece of property that he uses now strictly for residential use?
Yes.
And do we know from
I went
how
through.
large that is? It looks like a pretty significant piece of land.
But like I said, the majority of it is a hill going down.
Yep.
You can see it from
I
4
see.
Mile.
Oh, okay, correct.
You can get a gander out of it.
Alrighty.
If you put it into GIS of the 159 4 Mile.
I can check
When
that.
you get there, you can look up and see his house up on the peak.
Got
And
it.
when you're on his street, you can actually just see his driveway that goes between two houses, and you can see his house up
And
on
what
the
is
peak.
his address in East Lyme?
You would ask me that. It's,
Spring Rock?
you
No.
take over Brook,
21 Spring.
over Brook, turn left, the first left, and then stay left. And I think it might be Spring Brooks?
So
No, it's not Spring Rock.
So that's the only road access he has into his property now. This would give him additional access into the property. Okay. I will check it out.
I'd encourage you to check, call
Does it?
Eric.
Yep,
see what
I will.
he says, talk to Melinda, and then I'll put it on the agenda for the 18th.
Okay.
And hopefully we can just either say yay or nay or
Did he
whatever.
come to you
He
with
came.
an offer?
No.
Okay.
He came to me with, would you be willing to sell it? And I said, I just got into office. I have a budget to prepare, but I'll keep this on my thing.
Great.
And he did
Thank
send
you.
me an email last week or 2 weeks ago and said,
Following up.
"Can you bring this back up?" So that is where we landed. Okay. Tax refunds. Our tax refunds for the month are here. I will tell you that.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I did sit with Suzanne last time. We went through all the paperwork. We double-checked. We did come up with one that we thought might be a little crazy, so Suzanne took it back, did more homework before I signed it. So we did our due diligence, and I think that we had a pretty good system there on finding those.
You're the second
At the
set of eyes on it at this point?
At this point in time, I am, because
Okay.
my signature is going on that paperwork, so
Okay, good.
I am making sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 refunds that are due for various reasons. They total $8,406.14. Some are going back to banks or living trust. The rest are going to individuals. So,
Just one curiosity question. Does it take the bank this long, 2 years, to say, hey, we overpaid?
No.
Okay, when it
So-
says bill, I'm looking at the 2022.
Okay, what you have to understand is we are just finishing up the second half of the 2022 grand list tax year.
Okay, thank you.
And the second
Yes.
payment of the 2022 year was January 2024.
Well, my mind is in the budgets for 25. Okay,
Do
great.
you know how hard this is to explain to people?
No,
Anyway,
I do understand.
So this is a
Got it.
reality where it was interesting, and I've noticed in the past year, if people bought a home here, we had people who really wanted to be here, so they went ahead and paid their taxes, and they were having money taken out in
As
escrow
well.
accounts anyway.
Oh, God, of course.
And the rule is, so we deposited their check, but then once an escrow bank sends in a large check, we can't chop it up into little pieces.
Of course
like
not.
the whole market.
Right.
We had to deposit $3 million from CoreLogic, the biggest escrow company, just to return somebody's $2,000 check.
Got it.
We can't break the check.
Got it.
So this one was, we identified it in the month of January.
Okay.
Talked with the bank, and they said, you know what, this one, since they already paid, we have their money, we want the
Got it.
refund, we'll straighten it out with them. Unlike the guy last month, the other bank said, you already have our money, send him his money back. So each of these is a case-by-case situation.
Good.
Mhm.
Both submitted duplicate payments. Great.
Yeah, people get nervous in a hurry, or the system shut down on February 27th and 28th. It broke. And so one gentleman tried to pay 3 times, and it never went through. The other one, thank God, the bank kept sending it back to his credit card company.
Good.
So please understand that the system that we and most other Connecticut towns use gets a little
Totally
crazy at the end of the month. Its capacity is not quite as big as it needs to be as more people go online. Every month, we're going to have crazy situations like this where people...
Well, that's why we're going to have this
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So we have to approve this?
we do.
Okay.
So and Suzanne, I will attach this to your minutes when it comes in. I will add this as the next page.
Can we approve
Okay.
this as a whole?
We can approve it as a whole.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the tax refunds requested of $8,406.14 as outlined in overpaid taxes refund request March 4th Board of Selectmen memo.
I will second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? We're good to go. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And that brings us to
to the bottom of page 1.
Well, yeah.
I know.
Selectmen general discussion, and then, if we don't have anything, I do know that we need to go into possible executive session. We have a reason to go into executive session with Jim, today, for, some litigation. If there's anything for general discussion, we can discuss it now. We also have a meeting in 15 minutes.
Oh, God.
So we might want to, do you want to say something for discussion?
No, I just have a question for clarification about land on Halls Road deed, quitclaim deed, or DOT land?
Yes.
I'm not sure what piece of land we're talking about. That's all.
One of the bridge, my understanding, I don't have a drawing in front of me.
No, so either on the,
It is on the west side.
okay,
It is owned by the state of Connecticut.
okay.
If we were to build a bridge, put the bridge back.
So it's just that embankment area?
It is.
Okay, that's,
So
I
they
wasn't clear
are
on that.
in the process of quit claiming it to us. Also that their agreement is that we would build a fishing pier.
Okay.
Because they'd like to have safe fishing.
And we also had that in a plan many years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're in the process. They have to go through their 30-day watch.
I wasn't sure what exact piece of land we
And I
were talking
don't
about, so
know-
thank you. And I don't care, it's not the center of Webster Bank's parking lot.
No.
It's not anything like that. It's around in a bridge abutment.
Right.
Fine.
And I do not know if it's been posted yet on the state site or in the newspapers, but I did see an email come through from
Okay.
the not DOT, DEEP, that said that it was in the process. So it
Got it.
started somewhere. Any other thing for general discussion?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
hearing none, then we are going to close out this part of the meeting, and we are going to go in, I need a motion to go into executive session for discussion as the Board of Selectmen about some pending or potential claims regarding challenges to the town's rights and legal interest in Tantamaheg Road. It will just be the three of us discussing this at this time.
So take a motion, then I'll leave.
Yes.
And then
I'd
you're
like
going
to,
to reopen at 7, the other
Our meeting is upstairs at the next meeting. We're going upstairs.
upstairs.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session regarding Tantamaheg land.
I'll second.
Okay, and no further discussion.
6:44.
Thank you very much. 6:44. Go into executive session. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. And I am turning off the phone.